the head of Emily Kane lay upon the coals. The dead eyes opened, and Mahan fled out to the deserted shore.
Hey, how's it going? What's happening in the world? Today's April 21st. I'm the Doom Wizard, and here's what happened this week. Please hit the like and use the donation link below because I'm moving and could use your support. We're going to start with some cool and fun news, and then you'll get your dose of doom. Humans are using underwater robots to understand the ocean. Researchers at UC San Diego are building and deploying what they call Argo floats all over the world. These robots can dive for days at a time, measuring temperature and salinity of ocean water, see how the ocean's changing. Also, NASA is publicly distributing science quality data from its Earth observing satellite, providing first-of-the-kind measurements about ocean health, air quality, and the effects of our changing climate. The PACE data will allow researchers to study microscopic life in the ocean, particles in the air, and fisheries health, harmful algae blooms, air pollution, and wildfire smoke. We found 700 different species of wildlife in the Cambodia mangroves, hairy-nosed otters, cats that catch fish, many strange things, and banks are unwilling to finance 5 trillion global nuclear development. Global mining investment too low to support energy transition, Rio Tinto chairman says. The gap is humongous. I am actually very worried that whether we can be able to close, end quote. We aren't going to make enough of the stuff, okay? Record surge in global coal capacity led by none other than China, continued expansion in China's coal fleet, and a slowdown in plant retirements in the United States and Europe in 2023 result in the highest net increase in global operating coal capacity since 2016. Historians warn we are, quote, few geopolitical inches from a third world war. It is clear that the world now stands at a precipice. Quote, Neil Ferguson's point is that Second World War can be seen as an accumulation of conflicts in different regions that happened to occur simultaneously, and we are now on the verge of the same pattern. And, oh yeah, April 14th, it was very hot in China. First 43 degrees Celsius to be recorded among national stations in April. Measles cases rise across the U.S. Trump case kicks off with jury selection. New York, Kathy Hochul and husband double their income in 2023. People are priced out of LA and Sedona and everywhere, living out of their cars, man. Coral Reef suffers 4th bleaching event. Tesla's laying off 10% of the workforce. Oops, can't sell the cars. 17 dead in flash floods in Oman. A 15-year-old stabs a priest in Australia. NASA unveils a probe bound for Jupiter's possibly life-sustaining moon. And oh yeah, protests coast to coast over Biden supporting Israel, and then Israel says it's going to attack Iran. There we go. Other countries get involved, and now we're in World War III. The Olympics torch was lit in Olympia, southern Greece. Copenhagen Stock Exchange building burned down. Britain is trying to ban smoking for younger people. China is subsidizing a fentanyl production which is killing Americans and many others across the world. G7 diplomats met in Italy. Space station trash hit a house in southwest Florida. UK facing food shortages and rises after extreme weather. Heavy rain likely to cause low yields in Britain and other parts. Also, there's a home security camera caught a possible tornado in United Kingdom on Monday. The wind flipped over a camper, peeled off roofs. Settlers of Catan will have a new update where you have to consider pollution and natural disasters when building new cities. Next week, Philippines' U.S. forces will train retaking island in joint drills. Wednesday was Bat Appreciation Day. The IMF sounds alarm on U.S. debt. I think credit card debt hit $1 trillion last year.
Profits.
America can't upgrade its 61-year-old howitzers, and the deputy commander of NATO's Maritime Command said underwater cables and pipes are vulnerable and at risk by Moscow. Suicide drones threaten to bankrupt Western militaries. Russia's arms trade with North Korea violates sanctions. COVID made poorest countries even worse off says the World Bank. Deadly disease infecting beavers in Utah called tularemia, saying that wrong, a rabbit fever could spread to humans. More than 25 million U.S. adults are living with tinnitus. There's a new treatment that makes the tongue ring. Storms dump heaviest rains ever recorded in the UAE, flooding Dubai's airports. Several people died. For the first time, Boston has a chief climate officer. New research published this month in Ecology found that higher temperatures have forced ant species in the Gregory Canyon near Boulder to search for more suitable environments. Researchers surveyed the same site and discovered, and as they did 60 years ago, and discovered 12 ant species that are much harder to find. But it's okay because Netflix is making a South Korean version of Don't Look Up. North Korea's capability to genetically engineer biological military products. According to a U.S. report, they can use CRISPR to produce biological agents for military purposes, including bacteria, viruses, toxins, even in poison pens and flashlights. Meanwhile, back in the United States of America, pharmacists warn of record high drug shortages like ADHD medication and injectables. So, what are people going to do? Freak out? Queen bumblebees can surprisingly withstand days underwater, according to a new study published Wednesday. They can withstand increased floods brought on by CC. Bees can do this, but we cannot. Biden campaigned in Pittsburgh and wants to triple tariffs on Chinese imports, steel and aluminum, even though they only are 1% of our U.S. use. Volkswagen workers want to unionize in Chattanooga. Russia attacked Ukraine again. And this program is brought to you by me and you, our Doom family. Use the donation link below. Just another reminder. Back to the news. CC will reduce future income by about 19% over the next 25 years in the best case scenario, more like 60% in the worst case scenario, which we're on. With the poorest areas being the most affected and least responsible, it's already locked in at about 38 trillion of damages a year by 2049, and that's best case scenario, not considering sea level rise, hurricane damage, extreme heat, and other adverse health effects. By 2100, the financial cost could hit twice what previous studies estimate. Only Canada, Russia, Norway, Finland, and Sweden could benefit. Apparently, the world's poorest would suffer. Again, I should reiterate that. So basically, it's just collapse. That's where we're going. Anyways, marijuana tied to Chinese criminal network infiltrates Maine. Amsterdam bans new hotels and fight against mass tourism. Tourism, not terrorism. U.S. and Chinese defense ministers spoke for the first time in a year. Deadly African heat wave killed hundreds. Also drought in South America, putting millions in acute hunger. You thought 2023 was extreme? Look at the first months of 2024 for the whole Atlantic Ocean sea surface temperature. Compared to the year preceding 170 years, this is not what linear warming looks like. And the big transition to La Nina is already underway, which is going to cause havoc in South America. Washington declares drought emergency after exceptionally dry winter, which means wildfires. This is a 1.5 degrees Celsius world. Young farmers are burning out. As pilot conducted by agricultural researchers found that in 2020, 170 participants, 71% met the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder, which most of my generation lives with near constantly. Lawmakers were sent to force the sale of TikTok in a year if another company buys it. This bill passed on Saturday, more money for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. None for you. Literally every week it seems like we've given out billions of dollars to the rest of the world while we're here just struggling. Volcano erupted in Indonesia, tsunami warnings. Croatia ruling party races to form coalition after election win. Mohammed Salem won the 2024 World Press Photo of the Year for his image of the Palestinian woman cradling the body of her 5-year-old niece in the Gaza Strip. Horrific. 2 Trump case jurors were dismissed. Nearly half of major cities across China are sinking. Great, where are you going to put millions of people? 911 outages all over the U.S. because of a light pole. Gas is crazy expensive. Tarantino cancels his last film, and the movie critic, good, he's made enough. Really. Meanwhile, half of Americans are struggling with housing payments. This doesn't end well. Below, the U.S. Latin America needs a brace for a flip to La Nina, as I mentioned. Taiwan says new Chinese air routes threaten island's flight safety. Russia's Shoigu says tank production is booming. Israel strikes back at Iran, but it's limited, whatever that means. Taylor Swift releases a surprise double album. Nobody cares. Elections begin in India. They're a democracy, or so they say. Modi is seeking a third term, where 1 billion people live. Too many effing people. 29-year-old Nigerian chess master trying to break record for the longest streak of playing 58 hours in Times Square, trying to raise 1 million. And you're just trying to get toilet paper. The Antarctic ice shelf that the size of France suddenly jumps once or twice a day. It's in the Ross ice shelf, causing massive waves. JP Morgan warns of need for, quote, reality check, end quote, on phasing out fossil fuels. U.S. banks says higher interest rates, inflation, and global conflict have dented outlook for energy transition. Translation, oops, we're stuck. H1N1 is spreading, prepping goes mainstream. Coffee prices and meat sauce hit new highs.
Meat sauce.
Venezuela blocked from some oil embargo thing. Don't ask me. And a man sets himself on fire outside New York court where Trump tried. His name is Max Azzarello. He was an investigative researcher. And he did this boldly asserting in his manifesto, quote, "We are victims of totalitarian con, and our government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup." Includes references to complex conspiracy involving cryptocurrencies, governmental collusion, echoing themes from his social media activity. Russia's attacked railroads in central Ukraine, and children look like burnt paper. Austin first responders will no longer make radio audio public. They're also pushing a low-income pilot plan for guaranteed income. Pollution from plastics industry is a major force behind the heating of the planet, according to a new federal report. The industry releases about 4 times as many planet-warming chemicals as the airline industry, equivalent to those of about 600 coal plants, about 3 times the number that exists across the U.S. So there's that, and tomorrow's Earth Day, which is planet versus plastics. So how are we doing on that? We made more in the past 10 years than ever. Also, California is the culprit for a spike in little-known greenhouse more potent than CO2, sulfuryl fluoride, used by pest control industry to kill termites. Nearly 85% of these emissions can be traced back to the Golden State. UN warns 800,000 people in Sudan are in extreme and immediate danger. North Korea conducts a cruise missile warhead and anti-aircraft missile test on Friday. Solar rooftops will make it profitable in the coming decades. Building makers made 15% less houses in March than the month before. Tesla Cybertruck's pedals were sticking with soap, so they recalled them. The soap problem in Boeing planes, too. As you guessed, worsening allergies tied to climate change and severe weather. Doctors reporting more severe allergy symptoms in patients. Oh yeah, did I mention already that the planet has now averaged 1.6 degrees Celsius above the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial for the past 365 days? Well, here it is again. Maybe a global decline in growth of phytoplankton, which form the base of the marine food web. 78% of Earth's oceans are experiencing a marine heat wave. But it's fine, right? And Scotland says it can't meet the 2020 climate target. Whoops. On the other end, Nobel laureate Esther Duflo proposes taxing 3,000 billionaires to help the poorest from CC. But it ain't gonna happen, because humans would rather be in their bunkers. 25-year-old anniversary of Columbine shooting, which changed my childhood school experience to something vastly different than what you boomers experienced. Biden wants to restrict drilling and mining in Alaska, but of course the American Petroleum Institute says the rules are misguided. Climate activists protest new private jet expansion at the Massachusetts airport. NASA has selected 6 new airborne missions that include domestic and international studies of fire-induced clouds, Arctic coastal change, air quality, so on. NOAA has issued a severe geomagnetic solar storm warning ahead. Japan's air intercepts, mostly Chinese and Russian aircraft, more than tripled last month. As the quasi-allies ramped up springtime maneuvers in the region, Japan's fighter jets were scrambled 70 times in March. Major rivers, waterways, and reservoirs in China's Guangdong province are threatened to unleash dangerous floods on 127 million people in a once-in-century flood. So there's that. Where are they going to go? In fact, half of cities in China are sinking. Did I mention that? Thousands of protests in Spain's Canary Islands over mass tourism. A man arrested at the Denmark's Billund airport evacuated after bomb threat. New York State's the first state in the country awarded $158 million for families to purchase energy-efficient appliances. Police in Memphis are looking for 2 people who shot a block party. 7 died in a helicopter crash south of Japan. Don't get close to black bears. Let them stay wild. But it's all good because the US dollar is strengthening and the fear is driving the US market. The dollar closed Tuesday at 106.26, the highest level since early November. Was that a ride or what? This has been what's happening in the world. I produce this program weekly for a while, and now I might transition to something else and do more personal and fun videos if I feel like it. Thanks for hanging on. I hope you learned something. The world's moving fast, and I can barely keep up. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself, Doomers. Again, thank you for being here.